Tonight, Charles III proclaimed King of Australia after a centuries-old tradition is broadcast live for the first time in history.
William and Harry ordered to set family friction aside as they make a surprise public appearance.
Thousands honour the Queen in Melbourne. Special live coverage from St Paul's Cathedral.
Anthony Albanese declares a national day of mourning, meaning back-to-back public holidays in Victoria.
Also tonight, exclusive details on a gangland shooting in Melbourne's north.
And airlines under fire as Collingwood fans scramble to secure preliminary final tickets.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Maddern and Mike Amor.
Good evening. Charles III has been proclaimed the King of Australia with a National Day of Mourning declared for his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. It will be a one-off public holiday on Thursday, September 22.
Mourners have gathered outside Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, where brothers William and Harry, alongside their wives, made a surprise appearance. Hugh Whitfeld leads tonight's coverage.
During a time of mourning, perhaps there's been some healing. Two brothers who've barely spoken in 2 years, side by side, again. William and Catherine, Harry and Meghan, the former Fab Four, setting friction aside for family. Inspecting floral arrangements, cards of condolence and greeting crowds on the long walk outside Windsor Castle. The two couples share a common pain, losing a woman they loved. In death, the Queen may have achieved the one thing she could not achieve in life.
With everything going on, it's nice that they all came out together, the four of them, so that was really special.
It's just so nice to see all four together.
It was a moment as surprising as it was welcome. William, now Prince of Wales, spent time showing his sister-in-law Meghan the tributes. Harry engaging with the new Princess of Wales, a title last held by his mother, Diana. But throughout it all, Meghan barely left her husband's side, clutching his hand tightly. Often blamed for the royal rift, she was no doubt anxious about the reception she would receive. She need not have worried.
I had tears in my eyes. I'm still shaking now. It was just amazing. It just was a nice feeling seeing them all together and kind of happy and greeting everyone, and just kind of gave us comfort, I guess.
It was reportedly William who extended the olive branch, believing it was important to show unity, the act of not just a brother, but a dutiful senior royal. The Sussexes clearly agreed, if not a reunion now, then when? Likely encouraged by words from the King himself, just 24 hours earlier.
I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
Whether this is a permanent reconciliation or just a hiatus in hostilities is anyone's guess. But here are two princes, brothers, who have dealt with private grief in public before, relying heavily on each other to do so.
Bye everyone, thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
In his first official statement as Prince of Wales, William shared an emotional tribute to his grandmother. She was by my side at my happiest moments, and she was by my side during the saddest days of my life. I knew this day would come, but it will be some time before the reality of life without Granny will truly feel real. The reality is, Charles is now king. One who clearly knows for the royal family to stay relevant, they all need to connect with the people.
Oh, hail the King!
Today, again, stopping to thank well-wishers, this time outside Clarence House, the home he may soon give up, with the expectation he will move into Buckingham Palace, traditionally the monarch's official residence.
God save the King!
Camilla also charmed the crowds. They've been waiting hours for the chance to see their new king and his queen. On a bridge crossing the River Dee at Balmoral, the Queen's three other children, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, together with their children, a grieving family appearing before the public to say thank you.
Thank you for coming all this way. Appreciate it.
Zara Tyndall wiping away tears. Princess Eugenie seemingly overcome, receiving her father's arm for support. Both young women who looked up to the ultimate role model, their grandmother and queen.
I think it's brave, especially for the grandchildren, because it would be an upsetting moment. So to have so many people watch you in that moment would be quite hard.
They'll be as upset as what we are, and so it's really difficult for them to come out and put a brave face on.
For Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, one of the Queen's closest confidants in recent years, these have been difficult days. Princess Anne was with her mother when she died.
You feel for her family, because it's their mum, it's their grandma.
They're human, aren't they? They're just a family in mourning, just like we would be if my mother died and their grandmother died.
A family now preparing for life without a matriarch.
The family had spent around 45 minutes here at the local village church, Crathy Kirk. It's only about a 15-minute walk from Balmoral Castle. The Queen would regularly come here for Sunday services.
The Duke of York told one well-wisher here, "We've been allowed one day. Now we start the process of handing her on." That long journey to her final resting place, which will begin very soon.
Hugh Whitfeld has the latest from Edinburgh. And Hugh, the Queen's final journey is about to begin.
Mike, within the next hour, the Queen's coffin will leave Balmoral Castle for the first time, accompanied by 6 of the estate's gamekeepers. It'll pass through towns and villages, allowing members of the public, many of whom consider themselves neighbours of the Queen, considering her annual retreats to Balmoral, it'll allow them a chance to say their own farewells. It'll also be driven through the cities of Aberdeen and Dundee, where formal ceremonies will be held as the cortege passes by, before the hearse arrives here at the Palace of Holyrood House in the Scottish capital, the official royal residence in Edinburgh. A journey that would normally take 3 hours will instead take 6. The coffin will lie in rest in the throne room here at the palace, just the first part of the Queen's final tour of the United Kingdom. Mike.
Hugh Whitfeld, thanks.
King Charles is already vowing to follow the example set by his mother. A new monarch was proclaimed in Britain for the first time in 70 years, with the usually private ceremony broadcast to the world.
It's official. The Prince proclaimed king. At the Friary Court of St James's Palace, London, an ancient tradition heralds a new monarch.
Prince Charles Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord, Charles III.
This was the way they did mass media in the 1500s. Trumpets and town criers spreading the word of a new ruler.
God save the King!
Built by Henry VIII, this is the palace where monarchs have been proclaimed for 300 years. It began with an assembly of the Accession Council. MPs, lords, former politicians, archbishops, 200 of the so-called great and the good, including every living Prime Minister, 6 of them, front row, old leaders looking to a new king.
God save the King!
God save the King!
70 years since this was last performed, but for the first time, television cameras were allowed inside, capturing history and a sense of just how much has changed in a week. The new Prime Minister, followed by a new Prince of Wales and the new King.
It is my most sorrowful duty to announce to you the death of my beloved mother, the Queen. I know how deeply you, the entire nation, and I think I may say the whole world, sympathise with me in the irreparable loss we've all suffered. It is the greatest consolation to me to know of the sympathy expressed by so many to my sister and brothers, and that such overwhelming affection and support should be extended to our whole family in our loss.
A loss etched on the faces of Prince William and the Queen Consort Camilla.
My mother's reign was unequalled in its duration, its dedication and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life.
The new monarch pledging to emulate the previous one.
I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world.
And then the ancient oath taken by every sovereign since 1714, officially acknowledging his role as Supreme Head of the Church of England, Commander of Britain's Armed Forces, Head of State of 14 nations, King of Australia.
I, Charles III, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of my other realms and territories, King, Defender of the Faith, do faithfully promise and swear that I shall inviolably maintain and preserve the settlement of the true Protestant religion as established by the laws made in Scotland.
At an occasion heavy with state symbolism, there was a personal touch. King Charles signing the declaration using an ink pot given to him by his sons, William and Harry. He could have used a new table. This one was too small. A flash of anger as he gestured to an aide to clear some space. His new signature, Charles R, a long tradition. The R is for Rex, the Latin for king. William and Camilla then signed the documents, and then the lineup of council members added their signatures too, under the watchful gaze of the Duke of Edinburgh, before the historic document was then read aloud to the hand-picked crowd outside.
Beseeching God, by whom kings and queens do reign, to bless his majesty with long and happy years to reign over us.
Coldstream Guards, lowering their battalion's colours in salute. The crowd then raised a salute of their own, mobile phones held high to capture the moment and spread it on social. There was a time that would have been done by heralds on horseback. Then the anthem, an old song with new words. A ripple of applause before this final flourish.
3 cheers for His Majesty the King. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
The artillery then thundered its own salute in London's Hyde Park, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. An hour later, the proclamation was being made in London's city streets nearby, making history and reliving it. Leggings, hats, pikemen, musketeers. In a moment reaching back to England's Civil War.
King, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith, to whom we do acknowledge all faith and obedience with humble affection.
And so began the first official day at the office for King Charles, his life about to undergo a seismic shift in duties and responsibilities. As 73-year-old, he's already beyond retirement age here in the UK, but now the nation's head of church and state. Prime Minister Liz Truss introduced her cabinet members, also meeting opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer, politicians across the spectrum. A day of oaths, promises of service and allegiance, all set to be repeated and echoed in the coming hours and days across the country and around the world, as a nation and the Commonwealth reset to a new monarch and a new era. In London, Chris Reason, 7 News.
The Queen's funeral will be held at Westminster Abbey on September 19. Sarah Greenhalgh, her adoring subjects will be given ample opportunity to pay their respects.
Mike, what will unfold here will be an extraordinary showing of grief like few have ever seen. Her Majesty's coffin on display to allow for a final farewell, not from family, but from up to 1 million loyal citizens from across Britain and the Commonwealth. That is 5 times the number who came to see the Queen Mother. They will queue for days for this moment in history. It is the long goodbye for Queen Elizabeth II, one last royal tour, 9 days, 800 kilometres and more heavy hearts than you could ever count.
When it actually happens, it brings home to you how wonderful the lady was.
Tonight, the Queen rests here, her happy place, Balmoral Castle. In a coffin built of oak, she lies quietly in the ballroom, draped in the Scottish Royal Standard, crowned with a wreath. Soon, half a dozen horsemen will carry the casket to a hearse. Then a 6-hour go-slow through the quaint Scottish lowlands. Crowds will show the way at Aberdeen, Dundee, all the way to Edinburgh.
She's very, very committed, and it is sad.
Tomorrow, the King, Camilla and the Queen's stately coffin in a daytime procession down the famous Royal Mile, from the ancient palace Holyrood House to a farewell service at nearby St Giles. The path already cleared. This will be Scotland's big goodbye. Then on Tuesday, London bound, the Royal Air Force to carry the Queen on a 1-hour flight. Princess Anne will be on board, keeping watch all the way. First stop, home, the throne room no less at Buckingham Palace, so staff can pay their respects. On Wednesday, the long walk to Westminster, where the Abbey awaits. The royal family will trail the coffin, but exactly who'll be there is still being sorted. As with her mother, Elizabeth will lie in state, and everyone's invited to come and see. The queue will run kilometres with viewings around the clock. As thousands continue to express their love and respect for the Queen, the new King is shouldering the weight of his new responsibilities while also promising to follow his mother's inspiring example.
This is a moment in history. There has never been a monarch on the throne in Britain for so long.
Then next Monday, the end. A public holiday in the UK. The funeral, early evening Australian time, will be watched by millions on the ground and many more around the globe. The guest list in its thousands will draw one of the biggest gathering of world leaders in the modern age and will include Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and our Governor-General David Hurley. The security detail has been in planning for years, from soldiers on the ground to snipers in the air.
It's been rehearsed over and over again, which is why I think we will be in for a very moving and magnificent few days ahead.
Just like her husband, a private burial will follow at Windsor, the Queen's final stop. She'll be laid to rest beside her mother and father, the ashes of her sister, and at last reunited with her husband, the Prince. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
Natalie Barr and David Koch will be live at Buckingham Palace from 5 a.m. tomorrow as Sunrise continues our special coverage of the passing of Queen Elizabeth and the rise of King Charles III.
Airlines are under fire over accusations of price gouging as thousands of Collingwood fans scramble to make it to Sydney for Saturday night's preliminary final.
The Pies kept their fairy tale premiership hopes alive with a stirring win in front of more than 90,000 at the MCG.
The Collingwood Army is off to Sydney with a warning: magpie swooping season is coming to the SCG. The stadium holds 48,000, at least 10,000 are likely to be Collingwood fans.
Tickets, accommodation, travel, and then being part of the cheer squad, getting all that stuff ready. We'll go make the banner on the Thursday and help out.
The cost of a return flight to Sydney next weekend has almost doubled. The cheapest we could find, $739, flying Jetstar.
I'm going to walk down, so I'm going there straight after we leave here. I'm going to Sydney.
Collingwood conquer the Dockers. 90,000 at the G last night is the biggest ever Week 2 finals crowd involving an interstate team.
That belief is huge for this team, and from minute 1 to minute 120 they go about it the same way, and that's great for a young team.
The other preliminary final is a feline fight. Cats versus Lions on Friday night. The Battle of the Birds, Swans versus Magpies, is a Saturday twilight match. Tickets for both preliminary finals go on sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. for club members, and for the general public, 3 p.m. The Premiership Cup has spent the past 4 days in the Northern Territory. Richmond's Shane Edwards carried it to Uluru and gave his tip for the flag.
I feel like probably Geelong will probably win it. I think they're probably
in the best form at the moment.
September's expensive if your team's in the finals. The best seats next weekend are almost $200 each.
The consensus is we're just proud of the boys. Like, you just don't get from 17th to prelim very often.
The Collingwood Empire is striking back. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Well, Abbey Gelmi is here now. Abbey, the Pies are daring to dream.
Yes, Beck, they've got an ace up their sleeve for the rest of September. We'll explain why shortly. Also, the illness that nearly derailed Darcy Moore's night at the G. A heart-stopper at Princes Park as the Blues and the Power play out a thriller. And a new dominant force in women's tennis emerges at the US Open. And we've also got some breaking news from the Lions involving that ugly eye gouge. More shortly.
Thanks, Abbey. Melbourne is paying tribute to the Queen as we go to air tonight. Emma O'Sullivan is there.
Mike, St Paul's Cathedral has strong historical links with Queen Elizabeth II. I'll have the details live next on 7 News.
Also ahead at 21, gun salute in Canberra as Charles III is officially proclaimed Australia's new king.
Why tennis superstar Novak Djokovic is poised for a controversial return to Melbourne.
Coming up later, the baby study promising to improve the health of Victorians for the next 100 years.
And it's going to be a chilly start to the working week, but there's a burst of sunshine on the way. Details after sport.
7 News, brought to you by Queensland. Yep, they grow up that quickly. Time to seize the days like this in Queensland.
Melbourne is honouring Queen Elizabeth II with a special service at St Paul's Cathedral.
Emma O'Sullivan is covering the tribute, and the Queen has strong ties to St Paul's.
Indeed, Mike, Queen Elizabeth II first visited St Paul shortly after her coronation when she was 25 years old during her tour of the Commonwealth back in 1954. She then returned on multiple occasions as a worshipper. She visited this state 11 times, so it is fitting that a special service is underway inside to celebrate her life and the beacon of continuity that she was. The Anglican Archbishop is presiding. He'd made it clear that everyone was welcome, not just his regular congregation and dignitaries. Victorians continued to mourn the passing of Her Majesty en masse today, queuing outside Victoria's Government House to sign condolence books and lay flowers. Victoria's Governor also emerged to thank the well-wishers on behalf of the royal family ahead of a state ceremony tomorrow to proclaim the new king.
Among the mourners waiting to sign condolence books at Government House, a familiar face, Victorian Governor Linda Dessau, and another familiar face on this man's arm.
I've had a great love for the Queen for many, many years, travelled to the last 2 Jubilees.
I'll be looking forward to seeing a king on the other
Yeah, that's right.
So many people really do want to gather together. That's what it's about.
From Tuesday, the Governor will invite the public to see memories of the monarch in Melbourne.
We'll be welcoming people into this house, which has meant so much to so many and holds that connection to Her Majesty. It's a small exhibition, but it's lovingly put together.
Outside today, visitors, some with a regal touch, left tributes.
I've always admired the Queen and her sense of duty.
I just felt the need to come because it's a momentous occasion.
An occasion that was incredible timing for 8-year-old Olivia Akers from country Victoria. She received a letter from the Queen the day she died.
We had the letter with us. That it was from the Queen and that she said that my pregnant was splendid and just the good stuff.
It's a delicate balance between commemorating the life of Her Majesty and celebrating the proclamation of His Majesty. Here at State Parliament at noon today, all flags were raised from half to full mast, but only until dusk to recognise King Charles III. In Sydney, thousands gathered to watch the proclamation of the ascension of our new sovereign. Our Governor will do the same at a ceremony tomorrow morning.
We are lucky to have met and represented such an extraordinary monarch, but the beauty of the monarchy is that it continues. So we now represent King Charles III.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Victorians will have a 4-day long weekend next week with a public holiday declared to mourn the Queen's passing a day before the grand final parade. The nation now officially has a monarch with the proclamation in Canberra of Charles III as the King of Australia.
A man alone with his thoughts, the burden of the moment weighing heavily, as Governor-General David Hurley calls together the National Executive Council.
This is a historic meeting.
Senior ministers, in accordance with tradition, endorsing the decision to hail the new king.
So we have a solemn responsibility here today.
A responsibility not met since Queen Elizabeth's ascension to the throne 70 years ago.
The first in my lifetime and the first in a majority of Australians' lifetime.
Recorded for posterity inside Government House and on its steps, displaying the official document. The Prime Minister declaring Thursday week, September 22, a national day of mourning.
It will be a one-off national public holiday to allow people to pay their respects.
With a memorial service in Parliament's Great Hall, which she addressed on her last visit in 2011. Today, a time for commemoration and celebration. With an appropriate meeting of cultures. A marriage of our Indigenous past and our post-colonial present. Thousands gathering, witnessing the official transition.
Members of the Federal Executive Council do now proclaim Prince Charles Philip Arthur George to be King Charles III, King of Australia and his realms and territories.
This is a significant moment in our nation's history, a new bookmark in the Australian narrative, the point at which one era ends and a new, to some extent, uncertain one begins. A moment for a song not heard around our Parliament for 70 years. God Save the King. Jeanette Wentworth was just 8 when she saw Queen Elizabeth on her first visit to Australia in 1954.
I hope that Australia gets behind King Charles now, because I think that he will be a wonderful king.
Part of today's large crowd.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime event as far as I'm concerned.
It was remarkable, a few tears today.
A day when history's page turned.
May King Charles III have long and happy years to reign over us.
Mark Riley, 7 News.
Novak Djokovic is set to be allowed to return to Melbourne for next year's Australian Open. The federal government is poised to clear the way for the Serbian if he applies for a visa. The unvaccinated tennis star was sensationally deported earlier this year after a High Court battle. Djokovic has missed both the US and French Open after he was refused entry on vaccine grounds.
More than 4,000 people have taken part in Connors Run, Australia's biggest event for paediatric brain cancer. Liz Dawes lost her son to the disease, sparking a mission to raise $10 million in 10 years.
It's just wonderful, and it's so great to see everybody out having a wonderful time.
It was great to do it with friends for a great cause. Touch with my friend whose child suffering from brain cancer.
Donations to the annual Connors Run can be made online.
Melbourne's north has been rocked by an underworld shooting targeting a major crime family. Exclusive details next on 7 News.
Also new trouble for Victoria's under siege 000 service.
A double offensive from Ukraine forces Russian troops to retreat.
And a huge earthquake hits Papua New Guinea. Shooters have targeted a home linked to a major underworld crime figure in Melbourne's north. Detectives say it was a calculated attack on a notorious couple just weeks after they appeared in court.
A Moonee Ponds home under attack.
Maybe 5 very short, sharp shots.
As detectives hunt for this white Audi seen speeding from the crime scene.
I heard a car with a loud exhaust.
7 News can reveal the townhouse belongs to Antonetta Manella, girlfriend of alleged crime boss George Morogi. The couple both pleaded guilty to drug charges last month, Morogi appearing from prison, where he's serving 32 years for murder.
I thought they were nice people, really, but who knows?
In addition to an upstairs window and the home's facade, the front door was also damaged. When the critical incident response team was called to help officers access the home around 1 o'clock this morning.
The police got out of the divvy van and had a loudhailer and shouted, "Come out, come out."
Once inside the home, police located a 27-year-old man. He'd been sleeping in a room at the back of the property and wasn't injured. Manella moved out of the home shortly before her arrest in April this year. Now empty, residents are hoping it stays that way.
We hope it'll never happen again.
Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
Victoria's 000 service is facing new problems with concerns over the quality of call takers. Unions fear that Esther's standards have dropped after a rapid hiring spree. The state government pledged more than $300 million to hire extra workers in the wake of a report linking 33 deaths to the call-taking service. Esther says its trainers to recruits ratio is appropriate.
2 women have drowned in a car after a freak accident in Perth. Witnesses desperately tried to free the 20-year-olds using a spanner to try to break the car's window. Police are now trying to work out how the Toyota lost control and plunged into the water.
Russian troops are retreating in one of their biggest setbacks since the start of the Ukraine war. A counter-offensive from local forces has pushed the invaders out of regions in the country's northeast.
Buoyant. Ukrainian soldiers as the 7-month war turns back their way. Guys, let's wave, he says. Glory to Ukraine. Troops refly their national flag and celebrate as they take back towns the Kremlin's forces had spent months fighting to win. Remnants of Russian positions, he says, of military debris lining the road. Ukraine claims a counter-offensive has liberated more than 1,000 square kilometres and at least 30 settlements in the eastern region around Kharkiv, its second largest city.
And we've all been impressed by what we've seen. Their willingness to stand up to a much larger, much stronger force.
Ukraine's president, bullish. The Russian army, he says, is demonstrating the best it can do, showing its back. It's a good decision for them to run. Russia's defence ministry acknowledges a troop pullback, a regrouping of forces to the eastern Donetsk region. It too has released video showing a far more ordered withdrawal. Tim Lester, 7 News.
An earthquake has rocked parts of Papua New Guinea. Magnitude 7.6 quake hit just before 10 this morning, Melbourne time, sending boxes flying off supermarket shelves. Locals recorded the tremor from their backyards, while security cameras also captured the powerful quake. There are no confirmed reports of any deaths or injuries, but locals say the earthquake caused roads to crack.
Australia's Kate Blanchett has won the Best Actress award at the Venice Film Festival. The 53-year-old was honoured for her role in the drama Tar, where she plays a conductor.
No one stands up here with this thing, which I'm going to drink a lot of red wine out of later. I'm not joking.
Tar is expected to be released on Australia Day next year.
A major recruiting drive is underway to improve the health of Victorians for the next 100 years. Exclusive details coming up on 7 News.
Also, a new insight into Australia's aged care plight.
5 dead after fears their fishing boat collided with a whale.
And Australia's kiss goodbye to a legendary rock band. More than 3,000 aged care residents have died with COVID since the beginning of the year. That accounts for 3/4 of all the COVID-related deaths in aged care since the start of the pandemic. The death rate has dropped in 2020, 33% of residents infected with COVID died. Now it's just 3.5%. The federal government has extended the Defence Force's role in aged care until the end of the month.
5 people have died after a charter boat capsized in waters off New Zealand's South Island. 6 others were rescued from the overturned 8.5-metre vessel. Authorities say the water was calm at the time, with a whale coming to the surface, one of the potential causes. Divers are now in the process of recovering the bodies.
A major recruiting drive is underway for one of the most ambitious medical projects in the state's history. 60,000 Victorians have registered for the world-first research program, promising to boost our health for the next 100 years.
6-month-old Rowan Ravel and his parents are among 60,000 already registered for Gen V, a generation-wide health survey.
Look at problems that might arise in the future generations or in this generation.
The idea to monitor the health of newlyborns and their parents for their entire lives, originally to research and find solutions for epidemics such as childhood obesity, food allergies, mental health issues.
Then suddenly there's the big pandemic that, the biggest pandemic that we've seen in 100 years.
So now they'll also study any long-term effects of COVID on the babies and their families.
We are the only big study of its kind in the world that has really captured a whole of population approach to looking at the effects of COVID. It's really unique internationally.
The parents of every baby born in Victoria until the end of next year will be asked to participate in the program. By that stage, researchers hope there will be more than 150,000 participants. All participating parents like the Ravels have to do is answer health questions on an app.
And just help each other out, which is something that's amazing to do. I don't know why you wouldn't want to.
This will be of value for Victoria for 100 years, this project.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Australia has kissed goodbye to a legendary rock band for the final time. Kiss's End of the Road tour wrapped up on the Gold Coast last night, with more than 13,000 fans saying farewell. The band will continue its global tour in the United States.
Well, Abbey Gelmi is back with sport now. Abbey, there's some breaking news ahead of the preliminary final weekend.
Yes, Beck. The Lions are going all out to free Jared Berry to face the Cats. The details are coming up next. Also, a Magpies Premiership stars big call on Jordan De Goey ahead of a date with the Swans. A Tigers gun wreaks havoc on the Hawks at Punt Road, while the world #1 stamps her dominance at the US Open. And a stunning rescue mission from Steve Smith saves the day for Australia.
This Sport Report brought to you by the Ram Pickup Truck Range. It's more than just utes.
Welcome back. There's breaking news from AFL House with huge ramifications for preliminary final week. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has all the details, and Tom, Cats fans will be keeping a close eye on this one.
Abbey, the Lions have confirmed to me they will appeal Berry's 1-week ban. This could have major bearing, obviously, on this clash on Friday night against Geelong. Berry's role against Oliver helped the Lions win the game Friday night. Now, Brisbane's likely to argue that eye gouge is careless rather than intentional. Moving to trades tonight, Demon Luke Jackson has his exit interview at Melbourne this week. He'll request a trade, trying to get to Fremantle, which will become the biggest move this trade period. These Dockers likely on the move. Lobb, a strong interest, he'll go to the Dogs. Akers to Carlton, Log linked to North. This was the Dockers CEO Simon Garlick post-game in the rooms last night on how they'll set themselves to go after Jackson.
We've worked on our TPP and our salary cap position to allow us to be not only aggressive in offering our current players deals that are really healthy and hopefully are able to keep them, but also be aggressive in the free agent and trade market as well.
And Abbey, just finally, I was in the Collingwood rooms last night. Jordan De Goey's shoulder injury was visibly iced. It's sore. Don't expect him to do too much on the track this week. The Pies also trying to arrange an extra Virgin flight for families and some lucky supporters to go to Sydney this week. Abbey.
They are expensive. Thank you, Tom. Despite nursing that shoulder injury, Collingwood Premiership star Heath Shaw says the Magpies should give Jordan De Goey anything he wants to stay at the club. De Goey looms as a September specialist as the Pies close in on a fairy tale flag.
The fairy tale continues and confidence is pie high.
We're here to win it. We are. Like, one more game and you're in a grand final. We're here to win this thing.
In front of 91,000 fans, the same side that finished second last in 2021 booked a spot in the preliminary final.
What a fitting way to finish. Collingwood conquer the Dockers.
Darcy Moore was a general in defence, but almost missed the win over Fremantle with the flu. A decision on his fitness left to the last minute.
Guy's been in bed for a couple of days, pretty ill. I hate it when the doctor rings me match day. He rang me match day, so there was some concern.
Despite carrying a shoulder injury, Jordan De Goey has been red hot this September. Timing couldn't be better, with contract negotiations in full swing.
Whatever he wants. To be honest, the way he's going about it now, he's done everything right.
On Saturday, the Pies returned to the scene of their most recent defeat.
Oh, what a run-down tackle! He looks certain to goal, and Rampy nailed him!
But this trip to the SCG will be different.
We played there 3 weeks ago. Geordie told me he didn't play, so we're much better for it.
The Magpie Army daring to dream.
Look out, you know, it's open. I reckon it's open slather.
Collingwood are coming. They've got huge belief. It's definitely realistic. You're in with a chance. There's 4 teams left.
Natalie Unides, 7 News.
Richmond's Monique Conti starred for the Tigers, booting 2 goals in the opening half to help set up a comfortable 35-point win over the Hawks at Punt Road.
For a second, Conti goes for goal, and she's causing havoc.
Melbourne remain undefeated after a 26-point victory over the Saints. This shot on the final siren from Lilligos fell short, leaving the Blues and the Power to settle for a draw. Meanwhile, the Casey Demons will meet the Southport Sharks in the VFL Grand Final after the Sharks defeated Gold Coast by 28 points. Melbourne Storm have been left heartbroken by last night's home elimination final loss to Canberra. The Raiders came from behind to pull off a 20 to 28-point upset. Brandon Smith was in tears with the loss, his last for Melbourne, after signing with the Sydney Roosters. Aaron Finch wasn't able to snap out of his form slump in his final one-day international. The Aussie skipper bowled for 5 in Game 3 against New Zealand and walked off to a standing ovation in Cairns from fans. That brought Steve Smith to the crease, who was in sublime touch with a stunning century.
And with that single, Steve Smith brings up his 12th one-day international. He loves batting at home.
The Aussies have set New Zealand 268 for victory. Poland's world number 1, Iga Świątek, is the US Open champion, defeating Ons Jabeur in straight sets.
And Iga Świątek is the US Open champion.
The 21-year-old is the first female player since Angelique Kerber in 2016 to win 2 Grand Slams in the same year, having also won the French Open. John Peers and Storm Sanders became the first Aussies in 21 years to win the mixed doubles at Flushing Meadows. A great result for them. And Ricciardo won the Italian Grand Prix last year and he's going to be starting from 4th, so we're looking forward to seeing how he goes.
OK, thanks, Abbey. Sonia Marinelli is here with the weather details next. And Son, how's the week shaping up?
Well, Mike, we're going to start and end with showers, although we do get a burst of sunshine in between. I'll have the details next. Hello again. Well, those showers arrived this afternoon right on cue as a weak cold front moved in. We're now waiting for a surge of cold air. Sunday was relatively mild as the temperature climbed to 16.4 degrees and the bulk of the day was dry. You may even be lucky enough to catch a couple of breaks of sunshine before that band of showers moved in this afternoon. Now, these showers are still going now, but most of this should clear out over the next hour or so and we'll get a few isolated showers to follow later tonight. Outside now it is 11 degrees and here in the city, we do have an overnight low of 8. You can see that system on the radar now just sliding into southern Victoria. In behind it, that cold southwesterly wind change. But there is nicer weather on the way. We are tracking an area of high pressure, which should deliver a burst of spring sunshine midweek. Soak it up because those showers do return from late Wednesday into Thursday. To the forecast now, and tomorrow there'll be showers scattered on and south of the Divide, and for southern parts of Gippsland, the chance of hail as well. But the main feature we're all dealing with will be that light to moderate south to southwesterly wind. That's going to keep Monday on the cold side. Here, that cold wind kicks in late morning, and we're only expecting to reach 13 degrees in Geelong, 12 or 13 around the suburbs. We're under partly cloudy skies, but do expect a shower or two during the day. The city is heading for just 13 degrees, dry to start, then a shower or two during the middle. It should all clear out by the evening. And then we have a couple of dry days. It's 14 degrees on Tuesday, rising to 18 on Wednesday. That's our best day. We'll be under light winds and mostly sunny skies. But then those showers develop at night and continue on and off right through to for the rest of the week, a top of 15 or 16 over Saturday and Sunday. But tomorrow we are looking at a shower or two and a rather chilly top of just 13 degrees. But Beck, Mike, hold tight. There is some nicer weather just around the corner.
OK, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
And that's 7 News for this Sunday, the 11th of September. We'll have rolling coverage of the Queen's final journey from 8:30 tonight.
But for now, from the 7 News team, take care. Good night.